Hello, Carl from CWD, just at Bruce's pond. The last time I was there, I just dropped the sleepers off and we had a bit of a colour, so now they've all been put down and he's put some extra. What was the extra treatment that you put on? About 70 quid a tin, wasn't it?
Oh, it's business.
So yeah, he's treated it with that and it looks quite good. It looks a bit like a varnishy type thing. Some Osmo UV protection.
Superb.
Yeah, supposed to be good stuff. You see all the water beading on top of it still, so looks like it's doing the job. So plan today is going to cut the skimmer at the back and we're going to choose where the two return holes are going to go. Nexus is going to be sat around there somewhere, and then a Tempest over there, so the skimmer's going to go like somewhere here, and then the returns will probably go one over there, maybe one over here, but we'll figure that out and we'll check back when we've done a bit. This little time lapse shows you how the skimmer's installed. So the top two levels of the pond, there's just straight cuts done, just a bit wider, about a centimetre wider than your skimmer either side, just so it sits in there nice and comfortably. You don't want to be too tight or anything, and then the skimmer basically just glues on. We use my Pond MS300, glue it onto the timber frame. So that's how simple it is, just straight cuts, nothing complicated with our skimmers. Okay, so this pond, last thing to do now is just screw in these bits around the window. They're all loose and the bottom is loose as well. So when you come to this stage, what you want to do is you want this gap here to match the thickness of your glass. So this piece of glass is 25.5mm thick, so we'll measure in 25.5mm, do a mark either side, get it matched up on one side, screwed in, matched on the other, screwed in, and then that's how you create your window recess. It sits behind here. So your first two screws best going under there because they're going to be hidden by this, and you'll either have 10 screws for the bottom, or well, you'll have 10 screws for the bottom on every single window, and then you'll either have 6 or 8 depending how deep your window is. If you opt in for a deeper window, sometimes we'll give you 8. So just use the amount of screws that you've got, count them, take 10 off. If you've got 12 left, put 6 aside. If you've got 16 left, put 8 in each side. So what I'm doing here is I'm just marking the glass is 25.5mm, so 25 and 26mm. It doesn't make that much of a difference really. Just mark it in around about the same thickness of the glass, one mark either side, and then you get your piece of timber in there, the window ledge. That's a long piece with a W on it. Get one screw in on one side. It may move a little bit on the other side while you're doing that, so don't get both in because then you won't be able to pivot it and get it right if it does move on the other side. So one screw in each, then when you know it's fine, then you can get the other screws in. Yeah. So to get this bit here level, what you want to do is get your first screw in the bottom, because then you can kind of like, it's got a bit of movement in it, so you don't have to tighten that all the way, just get it in, and then you can get your spirit level on, knock it till it's level, I just use my hand, sorry, bad camera work. Right, so now I've got it level. Now what? Screw it in. Keeping it level. Oh yeah. It's a bit difficult to do two hands, so I'm just going to get this in there, and then I should be able to hold the camera with the other hand. Wrong side. Yep, level.
sometimes when it bites it goes on. So you just need to try and hold it in place. I'm gonna hold it there. And then that's level. Good stuff. Stick you back over there so you can watch from a bit of a distance. Sometimes with the way they're cut, one side is more level than the other, just because of how this cut is at the bottom. So just turn it round and you might have one that's perfectly level. Go with that one. Okay, so we're ready for the underlay now. So underlay is here. I'm going to unravel that, and then I'm going to use the 4mm galvanised staples, hammer them in. They look like this, you get it from the builders merchants and things, and they look like that. So once you've hammered that in, there's no possible way of a sharp point facing in your pond, because that's just going to be a flat bit of metal facing inside, nice and round. So that's what we're going to use.
So I'm just unravelling the underlay. It comes in 2 metre wide rolls. With this being quite a deep pond, the depth of the pond is almost as tall as the underlay, so that makes installing it really easy. All you do is start to the right of the window. Well, you can start to the left if you want, but I like working clockwise. Get your 4-inch galvanised staples, like I just shown you in a little video before, and then get them hammered in. And the underlay is going absolutely nowhere once you got those staples in. So yeah, we recommend using those. If you've not got those, you can use a normal staple gun. Just be careful, make sure that none of the staples are pulled out a little bit. So I'm going to speed this video up because it's pretty much self-explanatory and you should be able to figure everything out from a little time lapse. So I'm going to speed it up for you now. You see at that point there, you've got some kind of creases forming there. You don't really have to worry about them. Bruce is just giving it a bit too good of a tug, a bit more than it needs. So yeah, you don't have to pull it really tight. All you need to do is just lay it around the top and get it, get it hammered in, nailed in, whatever. When you're cutting around the skimmer, expose the skimmer completely. You don't need any of the underlay overlapping, and then you can get a staple in either side of the skimmer. So when it comes to the underlay up to the window, all you've got to do is get a couple of staples in left and right of the window, and then you know when you're cutting it, you've got a nice clean cut. It's not falling in one area or anything, so you get the best look. If I'm honest, all this is going to be hidden anyway, so if you make a massive hash of it, no one's ever going to be able to tell. This just looks good for a video really, and people that do it quite often will find it a lot easier than someone doing it for the first time.
Okay, so we're making progress. Underlay is in. Looks like we know what we're doing, doesn't it? It only takes about 15 minutes to do. It doesn't take long. Just take your time, staple at the top, in the corners, staple at the bottom, and yeah, it gives you just a nice looking finish. You can use a blowtorch on the corners and stuff, but water's going to push it down, so we never bother doing that. You don't want to start any fires or anything. So just show you, we've put blobs of sealant on there like we always do, and on the other side. So now we're just going to get the glass in. I'm going to be on the left side. I'm going to get the glass swinging this way. It's quite deep, so it's more difficult getting in the pond and lifting it up than it is just swinging it in. Both be on the outside. It's only a 1500 by 600, which is about 60 odd kilos. So between two of us, it should be fairly easy. And then once Bruce is able to swing it, there he is going to, and he's going to plop it straight down in that corner. And then I'll put it in mine, and then we're going to watch our fingers at the top, and then push it onto the ceiling.
So when you're lifting the glass, you want to do a couple of little test lifts and moving it around. Just make sure that you're kind of comfortable with it, especially if it's your first time lifting it, because you expect that you're going to lift the handles and it's going to go straight up. Where it doesn't, it tends to want to kick out at the top of the bottom, depending where you've got them. And some customers are quite worried. I'm not saying this customer was, but some are anxious about dropping it and things, and they'll be really kind of fighting with themselves or the other person to try and keep it safe. So what we're doing at the moment is trying to remove any little tags or anything that are on the glass. We're just talking through how we're going to get the glass in, making sure that we've got a clear plan for it. Because the last thing you want is to be figuring out a plan while you've got it out, lifted in the air, and everyone's kind of worrying about what's going on there. You can't focus on that. So once Bruce is able to swing it in, as he does there, gets his little corner in, and then I know I can get my corner in, move your fingers out of the way, and then pull it onto the sealant. And then as you pull it, you'll see those little blobs grow, and the reason we use the blobs is the water can escape underneath, so it can go down. You get a nice edge around your window frame if you put silicone sealant on there. If you've ever tried doing sealant in your bathroom and mucked it up or anything, this is a really hard version of that, because you're working with bridging the gap between wood and glass, and it can look really bad if you don't get it absolutely bang on perfect. So even I don't even bother trying to do that, because I don't see any benefit in it anyway. So just use a blob to sealant, then you don't have to worry about it. So just make sure that what I was doing there is making sure that it felt flush, that it's not bumping out anywhere. And then once I was happy with that, we've got the clamps on the top, and then we're ready for getting the liner in. So the next step is jump inside, and then the liner, the way that is it rolls out on its long edge, not the longest edge of the pond. So if you've got a 4 by 3 meter pond like this one, the window's in the 3 meter side, so we start at the back end and roll it out along the 4 meter width. So there I'm just showing you what the blobs look like once they're all been squished. So very important things to do before you start installing the liner. Obviously you need to get a spirit level on the glass, make sure it's level, which we did, and it was absolutely bang on, so that's perfect. But then we have to clear everything off the sides of the pond, so that's Stanley blades, sealant tubes, suction holders, anything that's on the side, get it off, because you don't want it getting in the way. So now when you're getting the liner out, I use a Stanley blade, but I only use that really on the ends. The rest of it, the tape isn't the absolute strongest. So just cut the tape at the ends. Don't be too aggressive with it, because there's a pond liner in there and you don't want a load of big cuts in it, do you? So I'm just carefully removing the tape from the seam, and then it'll just roll out. And then once you've got it out of the underlay, you can see which way it needs to roll, and you just roll it straight into the pond. So once you've rolled it out into the pond, what you need to do is just start with one corner. If you've got another person with you, fantastic. If not, you'll have to use a quick grip clamp, similar to ones that they are the ones that we use in the windows, like I just have on that corner. It's much easier if you've got one person in each corner though. So get it unravelled at the bottom, and what I'm doing is I've got my toe in the corner and I'm kind of jumping it into the bottom corner, and then passing it to Bruce on the top, and we're sticking bricks or kettlebells or whatever you've got. Clamps are ideal though, because they're not going to move and fall in the pond. We've had it before from customers where they've used breeze blocks and they've fallen in, so be careful about that.
So I'm in a pond, box welded liner, fits pretty good. I'm just going to get the window done now. The glass is behind there, it's like normal. Cut the liner, you can feel the glass, and you can see as you're cutting it, you can see it as well. So I can feel the glass there, so I'm going to cut about here, there, you can see my finger now.
bacon sandwich then?
Oh yeah, go on then, might as well, thank you.
Is it brown or red sauce?
Brown, please. It's easy when Joe's here. Falling all over the show, this liner. So line has been cut around the window. So what we do now is we kind of fold it back and get a load of my Pond MS300 on the glass. It's easy to do it on the glass. Get it on the outer edge, and then you push from the outer edge up, and then this whole area is sealed all the way around. And for people that say if the liner goes in first, if your liner's going into that gap, you see all them creases just from the underlay, your liner is going to have the sharp edge of a piece of glass pushing it an extra inch into a rebate, causing creases, also potentially puncturing your liner. So even if you do seal all the way around here, all the way around, you might have a puncture in your liner there. That is absolute pain in the bum to fix, because it's going to be surrounded by loads of creases and you're going to need a big patch going on it, and that doesn't always work. So if you do it this way, we've not had anyone have an issue with it unless they've used the wrong type of liner. I've not read the instructions on the tube. It says don't use it on laminated tarps. So yeah, there's a reason we tell you, just don't do it. We're not going to lie to you and say it does work, because it doesn't. Yeah, we've not figured out a way of getting around that yet, and if I'm being honest, I don't think there's any reason to. Just buy a rubber liner. They're not that expensive for what they are. Yeah, the day's labour of folding and waiting around while you're filling up would probably cost more than most liners will in a box fold liner. So if you want a quote for one, email us and then we'll get back to you. We are having a calculator built, it's just taking us longer getting everything finalised.
So just applying some My Pond MS300. What you want to do is cut the nozzle as fat as it'll go, put a nice thick bead on all the way around. You don't want multiple small beads, because one break in a small bead renders the whole bead useless, meaning you've wasted X amount of tubes of sealant. It might seem like you're using more this way, but we've actually found that you'll see how many tubes you use on this. I use about 2 or 3 to do a 1500 by 600 window. So yeah, it's not going to make more waste or anything. Once you've put the bead on, all you do is push the liner onto the bead and spread it until you can see it coming out a little bit on the other end.
Okay, pond window is in. So now, before this is completely cured, good idea just to walk into the corners and make sure that when you push into the corner, it's not tugging this that way. Same with this, look at that while you tug it over there. It's not moving. So that's what we want. We know that when the water fills it up, it's not going to be tugging at that.
So there we go. You can see I've got clamps on, liners in, windows in, and if we didn't have a bottom drain and a skimmer and everything else, all we do now is wait in a day or two, depending on how warm it is. If it's normal temperatures above like 15 degrees Celsius, you can fill up the next day, so just give it 24 hours. Anything below that, down to like 6 degrees Celsius, give it 3 days to make sure everything's properly cured.
So that's it, pond is done as far as I'm going to do it. Matt, who is the landscaper, the guy who actually built the pond, he's going to come and cut the bottom drain, do the filters, the returns and everything else. I've just got the window in and installed just to get things going, speed things up a little bit. But yeah, it's looking good. You happy, Bruce?
Very happy.
Good stuff.
Thank you. Can't fault it.